So, welcome to the first installment of our podcast where we talk to legitimate traders that are doing well and that are successful and that have the knowledge that you seek in this market. My first guest is right here with me, and it is Vladimir Ribakov. And I cannot introduce Vladimir like he can. So, I'm going to let him go ahead and lead it off. Tell us who he is, what he does, and then just give you a high level overview of what it is that he does in this market. And then just go ahead with it, Vladimir.
Drew, so first of all, thanks for having me here and a big honor to be the first one. And I wish you and, of course, the team behind you nothing but success. So, about myself, I'm a full-time trader. I came to this world, trading world, absolutely by mistake. I mean, in my mind when I was young, I'm 41 now. In my mind when I was younger, I was like, I will not be the classical 9 to 5 person. I was always looking for ways around. I started with multi-level marketing. It crashed, big failure. But the good part happened then. One of the guys there that introduced me to this, let's say, ugly or dirty world of multi-level marketing. Um, he started all the seminars on Forex trading when it just was in diapers, right? It was back then, we're talking about um, early 2000. Yeah, it was the market was absolutely different than from what we know today. Anyway, I started to attend the seminars. I fell in love in trading world, and I kind of had this instant click in chemistry. I knew this is going to be my thing. Quick enough, I got few slaps on my face by the market, which made me double think all that, doubt myself many times. But in my personality, I'm a person who never ever gives up, and once I decide things gonna happen, they will happen. This or other way around. I started the trading, failed, started again, failed many times. Then, luckily for me, one of the brokers that started back then, they were hiring for dealing room. It was for the position of just answering for phone calls and accepting transactions by clients. But it was my entrance inside. I did not, and I still do not have any degree. But I was always good with numbers. So after passing all their exams and tests, I started this position. Quick enough, I proved myself inside, and I started to move forward on the ladder. I found myself running the exposure for the broker, and then their trading rooms, and then I gave it a shot in hedge funds. I moved there again. My only advantage was I was good with numbers and I was able to see quick deviations and changes in numbers while others couldn't. So they hired me. I worked there. I made my money. And in 2009, I said, now it's my time. Before I build up family and everything, I will either make it or not. But I will definitely not want to risk my family while trying. So I started early, and things work out properly. Of course, every year you go through the procedure and the process, you polish the stuff, you analyze your work, and just looking to improve.
Yeah, absolutely. And just for the viewers that are watching, that is not a typical resume. Vladimir actually has a pretty impressive resume. So just take that into account when you're listening thoughtfully to the things that he's going to be saying in this episode, because I promise you, you're going to get some serious golden nuggets from this guy because he's been around the block. He knows what he's talking about. He's done it from every different level, from a regular retail person's level, from a business level to an institutional level. He's done it all. So this is going to be a very valuable conversation to you just to think and listen intently to. So it sounds like we kind of covered how you got into trading and your early experiences and things of that sort. And it sounds like the lessons that you learned from your failures is that you just can't quit, because the only way that you actually lose in this, obviously you can lose money, right? But you can always make more money. What you need to do is learn from those mistakes, understand why you lost on those trades or you made those mistakes, and then fix them moving forward. And then don't give up. So it seems like that was kind of your main lesson is, hey, just I only fail when I stop, right? So
That's
what's the primary trading approach that you take? Are you a swing trader, day trader, scalping? Do you have a combination of all of them? And then what are your kind of, without giving away anything proprietary, right? Without giving away your edge, because no one expects anyone to do that, right? What are the kind of strategies that you use to find opportunities? And then how do you manage your allocations, your risk, and your positions whenever you're in them?
So look, it's not a secret. I mean, what I speak, I stand behind. Right? I stand for my words, and people can see that in the among every of my social channel, of course, and my club. It's not a secret. I trade cycles and divergences, meaning I believe that money always change hands, right? And it happens in certain points in certain time when some big transactions, big options come to the end, expire. Money starts to look for new directions, and with this idea in mind and this experience I gained when I was working for the private funds, is that things happen in a very specific level and time. If you will be able to spot that, of course, with all the technical conditions and indicators, you would be able to spot trading opportunities. So for me, I'm a divergence trader on given cycles. All right. So that's what I'm looking at. I love to work with MACD. I love to work with Bollinger Bands, and I love to work with supply and demand levels because that's where things happen.
Yeah,
As simple as that.
absolutely. Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. I think the divergences are very powerful, especially when you couple them with, extreme highs and extreme lows on a chart's range. That is incredibly valuable. So what are how did you develop this strategy? Was that something that you learned inside of, your prior career in the institutions and the private sector, or is that something you kind of developed outside of this?
So I'm a lonely wolf. I always love to learn my way, hard way. I do not recommend it to everyone, but that's the kind of a person who I am. When I started to work for the broker, I was exposed to see what clients do. Right, I was accepting their positions as a dealer, and then a trade manager, and then I found myself in a place where like, Vlad, how can you make money when you do the same positions that these clients do and they lose money? So at some point it hits you, in your brain, and you're like, okay, hold on, let's try to figure out. And that's where I first was introduced to the divergences. I learned a lot from Dr. Elder. He has amazing books, much recommended, a very popular author. And then I started to adjust it and polish that to my needs, to my understanding, because there are many ways to try divergences. And like any other strategy, by the way, it will fail unless it's done properly and correctly. So I started to figure out how and when it happens. And then what I learned from the Nostro companies, the funds companies, is that things tend to move or begin in certain levels, certain times, specific times. So that combined with divergences got me to cycles, cycle trading, specific levels. That's how I developed my techniques.
Yeah, and one thing, I mean, you can echo this sentiment if you agree. One thing I've noticed is that money doesn't just go nowhere, right? And what I mean by that is it doesn't just poof go and get taken out of a market and then go into thin air. It usually is going to move from market to market or from an asset to another asset, right? So if there's a massive sell-off in risk assets, it's probably going to move into safe haven assets or industrial assets like gold or silver. And same thing there. If there's money moving out of those, it might go into particular currencies or speculative assets like the stock markets or the cryptocurrency markets and things of that sort. And then I've also noticed, actually, one of my favorite trading strategies, I'm glad you brought up the Bollinger Bands, is on Thinkorswim's platform, which is now a Charles Schwab platform, but it used to be TD Ameritrade. John Carter invented these studies called the TTM trend, TTM wave, and TTM squeeze. And I love the squeeze in particular because the squeeze tells you without having to look at anything, right? It's just one little histogram down at the bottom with red and green signals, right? Little bars. And so what it does is it tells you with when the Bollinger Bands are inside of the Keltner channels and there's a squeeze happening, right? So that's one thing I really like about the Bollinger Bands and the Keltner channels used in conjunction with each other. When they're squeezed inside with each other, that's usually whenever the market is coiling up for a big move, either up or down. And then obviously you got to go and figure out what the trend is, what the waves are telling you, and things of that sort. But if you use all those in conjunction with each other, it's a very powerful
Absolutely.
indicator set and tools that I've noticed is very, very accurate. So I like the Bollinger Bands, man.
For a good reason, it's
Definitely.
a great indicator.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you use any like automation or algorithms, or are you just like, hey, I'm going to do all of this myself? Um, is it kind of discretionary trading based upon your emotion, or not your emotions, but your thought processes, right? Because we try to remove emotions from this.
I do use automated solutions. I was also invested in several projects with full automated solutions. Even though I'm not 100% there yet in my mindset, I do believe that machines have to be controlled. If you leave machine out of control, it will leave you without your money.
Yep.
So I do have automated solutions. I do work a lot with semi-automated solutions where it brings me all the conditions I need, and then I'm the one who makes the final decision. Is it good or is it not?
I
And
like that.
that's pretty much where I stand about that. But I definitely believe machines can, maybe if not replace you, they can be there to help you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Provide me the setup. I validate it, and then the human takes the trade, right? And then we also ultimately decide where do we get out of this trade?
That's
Because
it.
that's one thing. It is super easy to get into a trade, right? Anybody can just click real quick, get into a trade, just
Too
decide
easy.
short or long, but it's inherently more difficult to decide when to get out of that trade and
Absolutely.
profitably. So how did you kind of go from beginning in your journey, specifically you, and then to consistent profitability, right? Were there any kind of epiphanies along your journey that you made that could potentially help other traders whenever they're going into the kind of like beginning stages of their journey as well?
I definitely would recommend to anyone who begins, listen to experienced people. And not just in trading, in any field in life. These people went the same journey that you are looking to follow, right? So listen to them. And don't just say, it's not going to happen to me. I know better. Fine. It happened to him. It doesn't mean that I will be the same. Listen to them because their rules are so smart, so good, and mainly they work. And that includes, for example, I love to tell my clients indicators are amazing, but indicators indicate the price action, the price structure dictates. Without that, you would not be never be able to make proper trading decisions. And of course, proper risk management. In my past, in my beginning, I was trying different things that, like anyone else, I was thinking that I'm smarter.
Yep.
But the market always find a way to separate men and kids, and that's what happened to me many times. The market proved I am a kid. So I had to adjust my brain, I had to adjust my money management, and of course, respect simple logic of risk management, of money management, and let the numbers work for me. Because every time I was the one chasing the numbers, I was the one trying to work for them. It never works. It ends up terribly. But as soon as I learned to control that and let the numbers work for me, then the statistics does the rest. I'm just there. I'm executing the stuff. I'm executing the setups I see in the charts. And as long as I enter a trade, understanding the numbers are in my favor, I'm very quietly knowing I might have a bad day, a week, or a month, but I know the numbers will fix themselves. The numbers will line up, and at the end of the run, half a year or more, the numbers will be for me. It serves me more than a decade, so it probably proves the point.
Yeah, yeah. So no, so the numbers that you're speaking on are probabilities essentially, right? And that's all we do because there's no guarantees inside of this market. So what we are trading are probabilities. The more confluence that you have, the more reasons that you have to be in a trade is going to increase your probability that that trade is going to go your way. You only have two indications that are saying, "Hey, you should be in this trade." Probably a 50-50 chance. Once you get to three, probably got 60%. Once you get to four, maybe 70%. Once you get to five and above, that's where you're getting into the 75% range. There's never, ever going to be a 100% move, a 100% guarantee, unless you're committing a crime in insider trading, right? So, probabilities is what's going to separate the real traders from the what we would call wet behind the ears traders, right? The ones that are just kind of shooting from the hip saying, "Hey, I'm going to come out here and do exactly what I think is going to happen, but not necessarily be able to back up my thesis with a sound argument as to why I'm in this trade." So if you can't, in my opinion, right, to the viewers, if you can't back up your thesis, okay, why are you in this short position? If you can't back that up within about a 30-second to 1 minute explanation and then walk people through the chart to show them exactly why you're in that trade, you probably shouldn't be in it. Secondarily, one of the other powerful things that you can do is try to convince yourself not to be in that trade. If you can successfully convince yourself to not be in that trade, that means that it's either indecision time, right? And it's time to sit out and wait on, sit on your hands and not do anything. Or two, it means that your thesis has a higher probability than you thought of being proven wrong, right? So
Very
that was
well
kind
said.
of one of the epiphanies that I had. And then a lot of this comes down to it's 90% mental, man. It's 90% mental and then like 10% execution. You get past the mental portion of this and you understand, okay, from a fundamental level, I have an 80% probability of this trade going my way, right? And then all
Absolutely.
you have to do is execute every single time when those risk parameters are there or those certain parameters to enter that trade are met. And then you execute. And yes, absolutely. Even if you have an 80% win rate, you're going to lose 20% of the time, right? But even if you have a 50% win rate with a 2-to-1 risk to reward, you're still at the very least breaking even majority of the time, right? So that's one of the main epiphanies that I reached is risk management, man. So do you have any mistakes that new traders should avoid? Or any advice for traders that might be looking to get that kind of like breakthrough epiphany, blow my head explodes moment, right? And I get it now, right?
Yes, and if I start, we will need probably hours to talk about all that. But here are the few which, from my point of view, are the most important. Never enter a trade because someone said, tweeted, or published a reel about it, or anything like that. This is ridiculous, and majority of people do that exactly. Second, never try to prove the market that you are right. The market can bite, and the market will bite. And just understand, you are a tiny, tiny, tiny piece of this jungle, right? This market, and unless you follow these jungle rules, you would not exist. So you would have to be there. You have to understand the stronger forces, the bigger trends, the bigger moves, and act accordingly. Follow these rules and respect these rules. Always understanding and respecting the fact that there are people who know a little bit better, a little bit more, and they will always look for your money because this is a zero-sum game, right? For every one person to earn $100,000, there have to be 100 people losing $1,000. It's that simple. And once you understand it, once you realize that, once you accept that, um, treat it like you would treat anything in life. Look, it's simple. I never met a person who just buy a house without making a background check and find tons of reasons why this is a good investment. I never saw a parent sending his kid to a kindergarten without doing all the background check and making sure this is the best option, and so on and so on. But when it comes to trading and money, people like, it will be fine. This guy tweeted, this guy made a reel, right? That's how people act. And to me, it is ridiculous. So once a person accept that trading is a very responsible thing and treat it accordingly like anything else in life, then and only then things will work properly.
Absolutely. Dude, that is super, super valuable advice. Not following the crowd, actually being contrary to the crowd a lot of times is like, it's like the inverse Kramer, right? Whenever Jim Cramer would come on and he would be like, oh, the stock's going up, the next day it would just absolutely get demolished, right? It's like
Exactly.
that herd and that crazy kind of mentality of, because remember, you're a small fish in a huge pond, right? And not even a pond, probably the entirety of the oceans, right? And so what you also have to realize is there's a lot of schools of fish out there, right? And all these little fish are the ones out here tweeting and saying, hey, this is going to happen, right? And the institutions, the people that actually run the markets, that have the ability to move the markets, right? And chase liquidity and stop hunt retail traders like us, they know that. They see that. They engineer that. And then once they have the maximum pain of all the retail people that are in, boom, reverse, whether it's up or down. Max
Absolutely.
pain is a concept that you absolutely need to
When I
know.
was
So if you
working
don't know
for
what
a
that
hedge
is, go
fund,
look it up.
yeah, when I was working for a hedge fund, my job
Yeah.
was actually to set up these traps based on options. But that's what we were doing. We were looking for these levels where the numbers deviate, and that's where we were setting up traps. And it was
100%.
that easy to make it. And yeah, you nail it. You nail it.
Yep. Soak in the premium, man. Soak in the premium. They're really good at doing that, man. I mean, they literally just did this in the Bitcoin markets the other day
Oh yeah,
by just a couple of tweets from a senator and then a press conference from a guy that was saying that the United States was going to be the crypto and AI capital of the world. Nothing came from that, right? And then the market immediately corrected. But I mean, they took out a lot of liquidity on those moves.
absolutely.
It was crazy. I watched it in real time. I traded it. I actually made money from it, which was great. And then also realizing that you could be that fish one day, right? For the guy that's making $100,000 on his trade, 1,000 or 100 people have to lose $1,000. You could be the person that loses the $1,000 on that one trade. But if you've got, a 75% win rate, 60% win rate, that $1,000 loss, if you're making $2,000 on all of your other trades, is not as big of a deal. So you have to be able to handle and withstand the losses just as much as you can ride high on the wins, right? And not over trading and understanding. You don't always have to be in a trade. Cash is always a position, right? So sometimes it is time to sit on your hands and do nothing. When in doubt, do nothing, right?
Absolutely.
So where can people actually follow you? And we'll pop these things up on the screen. That way, if people are like, hey, you know what? I really like what Vlad's saying. I want to see him do more things, right? Where can they find you?
So there is a publicly open blog, VladimirRibakov.com.
Okay.
It's very easy to remember, right? That's my name. And of course, our club, the Home Trader Club. This is where I expose my all the trading opportunities, and mainly I explain all the logic behind it. Why do I choose to trade the way I choose to trade, and how I'm going to execute it. So people are very welcome to follow there, of course. They can also Google Vladimir Ribakov on YouTube, and lots of stuff, good stuff would be there, and I really want to hope and believe that it will be helpful to at least some of the viewers.
Absolutely. I think just this 30-minute, 20-minute segment is going to be incredibly helpful for people. So it would not surprise me if we convert some people into Vlad's followers. So I just want to, first and foremost, I need to thank Vlad, right? Thank you for showing up and actually delivering value to people and kind of giving us the rundown of everything that you've done in this market from so many different levels, right? From the retail level to the teaching level, all the way up to the highest level in institutions and hedge funds, man. Thank you for that. And thank you,
My
obviously, to
honor.
the audience, because without you, we have no platform. We have no reason for being on this podcast. So we definitely want to thank you and make sure that if you like what Vlad is saying, that you go over and you follow him on his platforms and you find that education that it is that you're seeking in this market. And Vlad, if you have any final words of wisdom, go ahead and do it, and then we'll wrap it up.
I just want to join you and to thank everyone who took the time to watch, especially until this very last minute. That's the most impressive. Just to wish you best to you and yours, and a very successful year ahead. Drew, thank you very much for having me. It's an honor
Yeah.
to be here, and I wish you nothing but the best.
Hey, the honor was all ours. I appreciate you as well. And everybody, make sure that you are paying attention for the next episode in this podcast, because we will be doing at least a couple of these every single month. It would not surprise me if you see Vlad on this again. So everybody have a wonderful day, and we will see you in the next episode.